When we are ready to file some material, so in this instance I have a cut surface in here and I want to clean it, I want to smooth the surface out and I want to add a little bevel to the edge. I'm going to use a vise first of all. The vise is going to hold the material steady for me and allow me to remove the material. If I don't use a vise and I'm trying to do it by hand or on the bench, then I won't be able to hold it steady enough to stop it from vibrating and moving around. We need the part held steady and firm so that we can remove material from it. So, our part is clamped in the vise. The surface that I'm going to file, I want to keep that as close to the vise jaws as I can. The further away it is, the more it vibrates, the more noise it makes, and the less material you actually remove. So I'm going to keep that nice and steady. I can also make sure that if this is the face that I want to file, I'm going to keep that face flat. If I want that to be flat, I'll keep it flat with the jaws of the vise. I'll keep them in line. And then I can use that to guide me. So I'll make sure I'm happy with the position of that. Vise is nice and tight. I'm then going to use my number 1 file. I'm going to use the smooth side against the top of the material so I don't cut into that. And I can then make sure that I hold the handle of the file firmly, support the top of it, or hold the end of the file. And then as I cut, I want to make sure that I am applying even pressure to the handle and the end of the file at the same time. Now, what I also don't want to do is I don't want to rock, I don't want to do that unless I intend to do it, and I don't want to file on an angle. I don't want to file like this unless I intend to, because it will mean that my surface won't be flat, it will be on an angle. So, you see I've started to remove a key part of the material inside there. Let's go a little bit further. And that's getting to where I want it to be. I need to file this side as well. Spin it around in the vise. Clamp it. And then continue. Now, what we will see is shiny points will appear on the surface, and they are high points. As I file, I want to keep filing until these shiny points sort of spread over the whole surface. I know that the surface itself is fairly flat then. But I'm not going to do it all with this number 1 file. I've removed a lot of material with this already, so it's getting flatter. I'm then going to go to my number 2 file, and I'm going to do the same thing. Even pressure on the front and the back of the file. Again, spin it, carry on. And finally, we're going to use the number 3 file to provide a nice smooth surface for us. You see these surfaces become a lot smoother, and what we still have here is we still have some sharp edges from where it was initially cut. So I'm going to use a smaller number 3 file, and on these sharp edges I'm going to deburr them. I'm just going to gently pass over those edges, remove that sharper material. We can then ensure it's nice and smooth. It's not going to cut anyone's finger. The part is considered deburred. You may be required to create a more complex shape of material. You may be required to put a rounded surface in, something like that. In that instance, you would use a half round file, similar to this. So it's a rounded edge on it, and you would simply move that backwards and forwards along the part, and gradually work the profile into the plate. If you need to dip into that plate, that is how you would do it. There's also a triangular file, which is handy if you need to get into corners. You can use a triangular file quite easily to get into corners, if you need to square something out. And you also have square files for the same purpose. If you need to put a square hole in the middle of a plate, it can be beneficial to drill a hole in it first, smaller than the finished size of your hole. So if you want like a 15mm square hole, you may drill a 14mm hole in it first, and then use a square file to round out the corners, or to square out the corners and produce the shape desired.